What's going on, Cyber Hornets? Jonathan Levy here, and stick around because in this video I'm going to share why the news about Bitcoin doesn't matter. Hey there everyone, Jonathan Levy here. You know, I couldn't help but notice that right now on YouTube, one of the trending, biggest, most popular searches is Bitcoin news. And who could blame you? There are so many interesting things happening, from stupid, idiotic tweets from Elon Musk and Michael Saylor all the way to nation states adopting Bitcoin. It can get so easy to get sucked into this news cycle and constantly refresh your Twitter app to try and figure out what is going on with Bitcoin. But I want to share with you a different perspective today, one that encourages you to understand the ultimate truth, which is that the news about Bitcoin doesn't matter. Allow me to explain. Ultimately, in the long run of the cycle, Bitcoin is not affected by this news. You see, there have been so many events that have killed Bitcoin or predicted the death of Bitcoin or the end of Bitcoin, and none of it ultimately made a difference. When the largest exchange, the only real place where people were buying Bitcoin, went under and thousands and thousands and thousands of people lost all their Bitcoin, nothing ended up happening. Bitcoin recovered. When China banned Bitcoin 5,000 times over the last 9 years, nothing ultimately happened. When China banned mining Bitcoin, well, Bitcoin dropped, but it still hasn't broken the 30K, which is up so much from where it was before. And of course, when Elon Musk makes stupid, idiotic energy claims or other FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, claims about Bitcoin, yeah, prices go up and down. But ultimately, none of that matters. And by the way, when a modern nation state adopts Bitcoin as legal tender, the price doesn't even go up. So, what? And by the way, when I say it doesn't matter and Bitcoin doesn't care about these things, I'm not just talking about the price of Bitcoin, which, if Bitcoin does become the global currency like some people believe, the price isn't going to matter. No, what I'm talking about is that the Bitcoin network and infrastructure just keeps surviving no matter what people do to it, no matter how much people attack it, literally and figuratively. Every 10 minutes, on average, a new block is found. Every single day, tens of thousands of transactions are processed. Every single day, new people join the network, and nothing changes. The system just gets better and better and better. You can't stop it, you can't prevent it, you can't block it, and you can't ban it. And every single time a new block is found, not only does the difficulty of hacking the network get more difficult, but the confidence that people have in the system grows. Every 10 minutes, Bitcoin gets stronger, and every 10 minutes, it proves the naysayers wrong by processing more and more and more transactions in an increasingly secure way. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Jonathan, Bitcoin is traded in the free market, and therefore, like any other asset, it responds to people's sentiment. Well, kinda. But also kinda not really. You see, Bitcoin is a technology, and it is a force of nature, a force to be reckoned with. And what's different about Bitcoin to other investments such as stocks is with Bitcoin, you can look in and understand the fundamentals. You can understand the code, you can understand the security, and you can understand what's going on under the hood in a way that you cannot for even a publicly traded company. Therefore, once you start to understand Bitcoin and understand the fundamentals that drive it and make it an attractive store of value, you don't really care about the news anymore, and you don't really care about the short-term dips. You see, once you understand that Bitcoin is fundamentally and verifiably limited to 21 million coins, once you understand that Bitcoin cannot be hacked, cannot be stolen, cannot be blocked, banned, shut down, or prevented, and once you understand that Bitcoin is open source, efficient money that anyone can transact with for basically free, well, once you understand all of those things, you understand that Bitcoin is the future of value storage and potentially the future of money. And all of a sudden, you don't really care what Elon Musk has to say. It's as if you were in the 1990s watching people on the news saying things like the internet is a geeky fad. No one will ever actually use the internet. It's a problemless solution, a solution searching for a problem. Well, look what happened with the internet. And that's because the internet is inherently valuable. It connects people. It creates value in its ability to reduce borders for information and communication, and that's why we all use it. Bitcoin is the same way. It is inherently valuable. It cannot be stopped. And once you understand that, the news just doesn't matter. Now, I don't want to get political or controversial here, and I'm not one for conspiracy theories, but let's face the honest truth. The powers that be, and I'm not talking about some cabal or cult of baby-eating wackos, I'm talking about elected governments all over the world, and bankers and financial institutions are terrified of Bitcoin. Again, this is not a wild and unfounded conspiracy theory. Just a couple weeks ago, a senator, Brad Sherman, who has been an outspoken critic of cryptocurrency and has really pushed to regulate and ban Bitcoin, was found to be on the payroll of some prominent players in the financial industry who are threatened by Bitcoin. Governments are afraid of it because it takes away their ability to print money and control the populace through inflation and manipulation of the monetary system. And of course, banks are afraid of it because it makes them obsolete. We no longer need them as custodians. We no longer need them to pay ridiculous fees to transact and transfer our wealth. And we no longer need their clunky old systems to transact with one another. So yeah, the powers that be are terrified, and they are making all kinds of bold statements, whether it's Jamie Dimon or Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger making statements that Bitcoin is a terrible investment and that it's rat poison squared. These people are afraid, and if they're not afraid, they should be. And of course, we all know that quote, that it's very hard to get someone to understand something when their salary depends on them not understanding it. So if they aren't afraid, it's because they don't understand what those of us who get Bitcoin understand. And of course, the media is really happy to run with these stories because people are super curious about Bitcoin, and we all know that if it bleeds, it leads. So stories of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, once again, FUD, are going to lead, and they are going to be the ones that are so much more interesting for the media to pick up. And that's why when the FBI manages to reclaim a bunch of Bitcoin that some hackers were stupid enough to keep on a cloud server, that makes front page news. And when there are ransomware attacks, that makes front page news. And of course, when someone loses their Bitcoin, that makes front page news. It's because that is going to get clicks and it is going to drive interest. But at the end of the day, it is not going to stop Bitcoin adoption. It hasn't so far. And these news articles have been coming out for more than a decade at this point. Bitcoin adoption is still growing despite the news. There are still an estimated 200 million people all over the world that use Bitcoin, and that number is growing every day, and it is not going to stop. Bitcoin has been through so much worse than Elon Musk tweets and stupid China bans. Bitcoin has survived all of it, and it'll continue to survive so much worse. Gradually, then suddenly, Bitcoin is going to be adopted by more and more people, more and more corporations, and eventually, possibly, more and more governments. So stop paying attention to the news about Bitcoin and the latest company that announced that they're buying or selling, because that's not the real news that matters. The real important news that matters when it comes to Bitcoin is happening in Telegram groups, on GitHub discussions. It's happening on Reddit and all the other places where people are innovating and creating new solutions for this incredible technology. It's happening in places where people are developing new wallet experiences, better Lightning Network applications, where people are creating totally new and unique ways to use Bitcoin and use the Bitcoin blockchain to store value, verify work, and much, much more. That's the news that really matters, and you're not going to see it on MSNBC, Fox News, CBS, or any other primetime news channel. And I have nothing against the media, but let's face it, the real important news is the work that people are doing to build this technology out, to make it better, and to help more and more people unplug from the legacy financial system and take the off-ramp, as Andreas Antonopoulos says, to a better system that we, the people, control. In short, if you believe in Bitcoin and you understand the fundamentals, then the news just doesn't matter. But I'd love to hear what you think. So go ahead and hit the comments below. And if you haven't already, go ahead and smash that subscribe button, where I'll be sure to deliver you more content about Bitcoin and how you can get more involved, learn more, protect yourself, and so on. Thanks for watching, and happy hodling.